Hello, everyone, and welcome to My Thoughts Exactly. It's holiday time, and I'm so excited. I've already started decorating, and I've taken out my copy of Maurice Sendak's illustrated book of The Nutcracker. It's one of my favorite. But forget all that. Today we have an amazing show for you today. Today on the show, we have theater luminary, actor, performer, and Tony-nominated playwright, the one and only, the amazing Charles Busch. I spoke to Charles Busch and we had a fantastic chat and interview. So I know you're all just dying to get to it. So let's go while I sit here and read The Nutcracker. And now here's Charles Busch, that is. Yes, my phone is on silent and we are recording. Okay. Hello, Charles. Thank you so much for being on the show today. A little
Hello,
side,
Charles.
yes,
So many Charles. We're going to just be Charlesed out.
a little side note before we get started. One of my very first dates with my husband, Kirk, was to see you in your show, The Lady in Question, back in the fall of '89. So you have played,
Wow.
yes, you have played a very important part in our lives as you do for many, many people. So I just wanted to say that. It was so
I
special.
didn't know. I didn't know that you were together that long.
We are celebrating 32 years.
Wow. Wow. That's
Yeah.
really something.
Very, very, very happy about that. And it was like to see you when we were at the Orpheum Theater, sitting there like in the second row. We were so excited. Maybe we were holding hands. I don't know, but it was great. It was really good.
It was many years later that I started working with Kirk. As
Yes. Yes. So it was, well, we have always seen your shows and always adored them. So, but now I understand you've written your memoir. Tell us a little bit about that. And what did it feel like putting down on paper the fantastic journey that you've had and continue to have in the theater?
well, I've been working on this thing for years, and I'm actually going back to the drawing board again. Since we spoke the other day, it's a complicated thing to know how you want to how you want to tell your story, really. You know, we all have a story to tell, every single person. It's just how do you tell it, and what is the, and particularly with the book, you know, what is the structure, that contains the story, and do you tell your whole story in a linear fashion, or is it separate essays that, you know, kind of form a collage?
Mhm.
I don't know. I've had a very difficult time figuring that out, and I started one way, then went another, and now I think I'm starting again. At least I have most of the material there. Now that's the hard part, is just the discipline of just getting it on paper. So
Mhm.
so I'm still at it. So there's really no I can't tell you like well, it's going to be published on September 1st. It's, you know, a long way.
Well,
Uh,
you have a large group of how should we say eager readers waiting out there for the publication of the book because we really want to hear your story. It's so fascinating. Have you given it a title?
yes, I've been calling it "This Never Leaves the Dressing Room."
Sounds
Because, you know, we
perfect.
always have in the mad world of powder and paint, you know, we always sit in the dressing room and end up, you know, revealing secrets about ourselves and particularly other people,
Yes.
that, you know, this never leaves the dressing room. And of course, it always does. Yeah. Do you know what so and so said? You know, of course, no, it's immediately before the first act is over, it's left the dressing room.
Yes, it goes quickly. You speak a lot and quite often and fondly of your Aunt Lil, and she was very important to you. Tell us about her and how she's influenced your life.
Well, I guess she really is the most influential person in every way in my life. She was my mother's older sister, and really, in some ways, almost like my mother's mother, because she was 12 years older and really took care of her. And just my mother died when I was 7, and Aunt Lillian really stepped in and ultimately adopted me, actually, and very much like the plot of Auntie Mame, she brought me to live with her from where I'd grown up in a suburb,
Mhm.
took me to live with her in New York City. And I was at a very terrible crossroads when I was, I guess, in 8th grade and flunking out of school And so she really had to step in and teach me just basic, most basic things of to focus on something, to concentrate. And her goal was to somehow prepare me to compete in the world, to get into college. That did not seem promising, and
Yes.
she succeeded somehow. I mean, I never really was terribly scholastic, but at least they didn't kick me out. But I don't think a day goes by that I don't somehow reflect on some sort of life lesson that she taught me. Just, yeah. And she was extraordinarily wise and had just the most enormous powers of concentration.
Mm.
She could just stay up all night, just fixed on a project, usually something connected with me, and figure, and, I would, whether it was something in school, I went to the high school that I got into in Manhattan, was the High School of Music and Art. And I visual art talent. And so she would, I get easily frustrated, and I'm not really a detailed person in many ways. And uh, there'd always be some art project that I was working on in school, a lithograph or a wood block or something, because I was an art major. And at a certain point, I would just give up, go to bed, and she would just stay up all night in our tiny little kitchenette and figure it out. When I'd wake up in the morning, she'd have worked out what the flaw was, why it was not printing evenly, and also had found somehow in her pantry the tool that I needed. But what was interesting about our collaboration, because it really was a collaboration, she was my first collaborator, that she would kind of present me with the tools that I needed and the research that I needed for me then to take it and be creative. And then she was so thrilled with all the results, and never take any credit for her being the project manager.
Wow.
Yeah, no, but I think, since I've been working on this book, it does allow you to gain maybe a little bit of insight about the past, and hopefully think of things not in such a simplistic way that our initial memory might present the past. And
Yes.
so I've often thought that it was a bit one-sided, of her just helping me and trying to save me, and numerous times. But I think she also, in a way, I gave her the ability or the opportunity to be an artist. And from my earliest childhood, early on, I mean, she, I think, was just enraptured with my creative imagination. That was something that she had never really experienced before. And so I think I just allowed her to find the artist within herself as my helper, assistant.
And I'm sure that brought her so much joy
Mhm.
for you to experience, and she saw you blossom into who you've become, which is great. I think it's a fantastic thing. What is your earliest recollection of being on a stage? Do you, at any age, what age was it that you can remember you first set foot and said, I want to do this?
Gosh, I so desperately wanted to be a child star. When, well, the part I wanted to play, my part, which I never got to play, was Oliver. I wanted to play out the title role of, Oliver Twist, and I thought
Good
that's
role.
me perfectly. And I auditioned for St. Mary's Community Theater production, and they called me back at least 5 times to sing "Where Is Love," and then gave the role to some butch child without a shred of vulnerability. And then I read or heard that they were going to make the movie version, and so I got Aunt Lillian to take me into one of these 4 for a quarter photo booths where I could make, Oliver, orphan faces, and we sent it in to the producers in London. I was determined to be a child star, and and I got a letter back from Romulus Pictures thanking me for my interest in the film, but that they were looking for a little British boy to play the part. And then they cast Mark Lester, who gives such a one-note saccharine performance of my role. Yeah, I thought that it would be my revenge on St. Mary's Players, that I would show them that I had nabbed the movie role, sort of like Vivian Lee got Gone with the Wind.
Damn. Yes.
Foiled again. I was constantly foiled.
Now, back to your wonderful work. You've written so many wonderful plays, and I'm just going to say a few of the titles: Vampire Lesbians of Sodom, Red Scare on Sunset, Die Mommy Die, The Tale of the Allergist's Wife, for which you were nominated for a Tony Award, and most recently, the Confession of Lily Dare. And that's just like a little handful of them. What do you have a favorite among all of them?
I guess two, really. There was a play that I wrote and we produced in 1991 called Red Scare on Sunset. It was all about the Hollywood blacklist. And I thought that was kind of smart. I thought it was my most overtly political play, and I kind of surprised myself. I thought really, rather profound in its delineation of how the extreme right and extreme left, there's actually a meeting place where they both sort of want to deny freedom of expression, and both are confused and perplexed by homosexuality. So I thought that was an interesting play. And then I have to say, this last play that I did, and it may very well be my last play, The Confession of Lily Dare, I think was my favorite role that I've ever done. I love
amazing. Yeah, amazing. You did had an amazing performance of that. The whole cast, the whole production was wonderful.
Yeah, it was a beautiful production. And Carl Andrus, who's been my great collaborator for about 20 years, did a beautiful job with that play. And the cast was just, each person really was magical. And I love playing the part. Carl and I have really experimented over the past 20 years with the balance of comedy and drama within I guess you'd say a camp movie pastiche type play. And we've failed embarrassingly at times, where we went too far in the one direction. There was a play, our first collaboration, Queen Amarantha. We kind of blew it that time, but I think we found just a really beautiful balance, because Lily Dare was an homage to women's melodramas of the early 30s, Stella Dallas and some obscure movies, Frisco Jenny, The Sin of Madeline Claudet. They're not well-known movies for the most part. Madam X, and everything. I've discovered that everything that you write is personal. You may not even you may be the last one to realize it, but everything comes out of some place in your imagination that comes from some mixture of every experience you've ever had and every relationship you've ever had and where you came from. And there have been times when other people who know me well will recognize those elements. I say, no, that's not true. And then I think, oh my God, yeah. But so, I have just, I'm the boy whose mother died. That was just who I am since I was 7 years old. And when you lose a parent at a very young age, I think it kind of brands you in a certain sense to yourself. And so my plays so many of them are somehow dreamscapes of searching for a mother, finding the mother, and I don't even realize I'm doing it. Yeah. And so Lily Dare was, it was just totally out there.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the goal was Carl and I wanted to see if we could have a play that was outrageously funny in its celebration of sort of these elements of the Hollywood tearjerker of the 30s. But we wanted to see if we could actually get a rather contemporary audience to respond emotionally as if they were watching the movie on TCM or had seen it in 1932.
Yeah.
And that was the goal. And I was actually very proud that our cast was so highly skilled that we could walk that tightrope and be able to guide the audience from these moments of, where it's really raucous laughter to being completely quiet and responsive to a dramatic moment, because it was tricky. It was tricky. There were times I really felt like a lion tamer, because the slightest unconscious gesture or turn of your shoulder or vocal suggestion could miscue the audience to thinking, oh, he's being campy here, he's spoofing it here. And then it's tricky too, because so much of the laughs that I get as an actor are based on the audience who I'm very grateful for, really often shares my frame of reference of classic film. And a lot of the laughs I get are because, oh, he's doing it so accurately.
Right.
He's doing it exactly like Barbara Stanwyck would do it at that moment, or Betty Davis. And so there's laughter from that. But then it was tricky because I didn't, there were places where it would be destructive if they laughed, because we were going for a genuinely heartfelt, poignant moment. So it was fascinating, and I don't think I could have pulled it off even maybe a few years ago. I had to resort to everything I've learned about comedy technique on how to get a laugh, on how to not get a laugh.
Right.
Pausing. There were times where I knew that, let's say there was a line that Jennifer Van Dyke, who played opposite me as my daughter, that there would be a huge laugh. And I think then the audience was sort of expecting that I'd make a comic reaction to that laugh, but I wasn't going to, because we were going right into a dramatic moment. And they kept laughing and anticipating that I was going to do kind of a take or something. And so I had to pause sometimes just forever until the last possible giggle was there, and then proceed. And then I had to be so careful, because if I just gave them the slightest wrong cue, it would be like, we're going for a laugh. And then I don't know, it would have been so horrible, probably not, but it would have upset me, because I really wanted to take them to this poignant place.
Right. I felt it was a total success in that way, because there were so many subtle moments in the production. I can think of the time when the baby was born and you're holding the baby in that whole vignette, and the times when you're, we won't give it away. Hopefully people will get to see
you
it.
can give it away, because we're not doing it anymore. So
well, let's hope. It's a
give it
wonderful
away.
production, but there were very many beautiful, subtle moments that you're like, oh, it took their breath away. And then
I loved playing it. And it was interesting too, because I've rarely gone quite to that dramatic place. And I loved being able in drama, in a dramatic scene, I find it, as an actor, I'm much more flexible in changing things each night. There's such a science to getting a laugh, and timing a laugh so right that generally speaking, once I get that laugh, I'm Miss Birdseye. I'm frozen. I don't change it. I try. The goal to keep it fresh is to try to just do it better each night. And then sometimes, when you have a great audience, you then go to the next step, to get the next laugh, whatever, through a look or whatever, because we don't improvise, we just stick to the script. But you can, with a look, at the second laugh after that. But generally, I keep it pretty much the same. But with a dramatic scene that is just easier to be more spontaneous, and and I enjoyed just changing my inflection or line reading, timing every performance. I loved it, loved it.
That's great. Well, we've been enjoying several performances of yours on Zoom with your fellow actors during this time of, our pandemic and being in isolation. And you translate even phenomenally well in the Zoom format, which is so hard to do. We've sat in our living room laughing at productions that you've done over the past few months with Julie Halston and Jennifer Van Dyke and Jonathan Walker. You're great, Carl Andres, and now you've completed a film in the past few months. What was that like, shooting a movie during the pandemic, and what was the movie about?
It's kind of amazing that we shot a feature film during this crazy time. We shot it all when end of September into it was so fast. I mean, each of the films that I've made, and I haven't made too many, but were about 21-day shoots. But this was 15 days, so it was kind of nuts. But we did it, and our Screen Actors Guild, gave us very strict COVID protocols, and we had somebody on staff who was the COVID policeman, and we wanted to strangle him half the time, keeping us, please, a little too many people, in front of the monitor, I need you to be apart, and it's like he gets kind of snappy with him, but he did his job, and we were tested our patients was tested, we were tested for every 3 days, and we got through this whole movie with all his cast and crew. Not one person got sick. Can be done.
Yes.
We were quarantined. I mean, it was kind of nutty, but it was a great experience. So we're in post-production now, editing, and there's a million things have to be done, music scored, and et cetera. But we had an incredible cast of Broadway people in this movie. My gosh, so many Tony nominees and winners. Some of the people in the cast. It's Julie Halston is really my leading lady. We're kind of the central protagonist. And then a very talented fellow, Doug Plout, and Tim Daly, who plays Julie and my love interest. He seduces both of us to get what he wants, and it's kind of a caper movie. And so we have Margaret Cho and Heather McRae, Patrick Page, Dee Hoty, Andre DeShields. It was a fantastic,
phenomenal cast in this movie. Yeah, every name you're saying is just terrific. I can't wait.
It's a little daunting too, because twice it happened. Twice where I had I wrote myself some very convoluted, complicated, long speech that I had to give to sort of a summation to this group in this movie. Right. And it always, both times I had to do it at the very end of the day. It's about 9 o'clock at night, and we have 15 minutes left before we go overtime. And I have to do this complicated thing. And suddenly we realized I had to change a phrase within the first 2 lines of the speech. And it was just horrible. Horrible. And you look out, you see all these people who've been, or you have such respect for, and it was just humiliating. So somehow, and never got to do it quite as many times as I would have preferred. It was kind of tough, but thrilling. I just love the filmmaking process, and my few experiences I've had making movies like Die Mommy Die and Psycho Beach Party, Very Serious Person was a movie Carl and I made a few years ago. That's not. I don't know if that's all bad.
That's all right. I had a knock on the door a second ago. I don't think you heard that, but someone banged on our door. It's all right.
I think my computer wants me to update, but I am not.
And someone banging on our door. It's like, I don't know who that is.
I am not updating. I will not update. Stop it. Uh,
Well, we look forward to see this film when it's completed, and you don't have a release date yet, obviously, but you
no,
will.
no, wait, too soon. It's gonna be a while, but I'd love to do. But it's gonna be a fun movie. It's called the Sixth Reel, and it's a contemporary wacky caper comedy
Oh,
that's set in the milieu of classic film collectors and dealers.
oh, wow.
Yeah, and I play this rather disreputable movie ephemera dealer, and I the premise is I wish I could tell. I got to learn how to tell this story in like 10 words or less. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but basically, uh, I find the sixth reel, the last reel of a very rare lost silent film that's like the holy grail of lost films. And I find the no,
No, no updating.
stop it. Um, and then they're can you hear the vacuuming upstairs?
I know. That's the world of Zoom. This is wonderful, though. This is actually, I think
Of
it's
course.
hysterical. Knocking on doors, vacuuming, drilling outside.
I think they're bowling with refrigerators up there. Anyway, I was just going to say that this the storyline of the movie, in a nutshell, is that I'm this charming, the disreputable movie dealer collector, and I find this rare lost silent film, and my dilemma is whether or not to do the right thing and give it to the Museum of Modern Art or TCM or University Film Archive, or do I sell it to a private collector who will then, keep it in Bahrain or someplace and it'll never be seen again, but I'll make a lot of money. That's
Money on that. Yes.
my dilemma. And then rival people steal it from me, and Julie Halston is my sidekick. We have to steal it back from them, and we get into crazy disguises and hilarity ensues.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm very proud of it. It's gonna be really funny. Really
Well, now
funny.
we all have something good to look forward to, which is terrific. Now, this is every holiday season for over 20 years. You have done your play, Times Square Angel, at the Theater for the New City in New York. And you do it for one night as a benefit for the theater, and it's sold out weeks and weeks in advance. And if you don't get a ticket right away, you're out of luck. Now, this is the first year that you're not able to do it. How does that feel? Are you sad not seeing your friends and the actors and the audience members who come every year faithfully? We do.
It is a strange phenomenon, and I don't know. I think in a way I'm the least informed person to even speak about it, since in a way I've never been there since I'm on the stage, and I hear about it from people who come every year, and there's this kind of wonderful camaraderie, because see, we don't advertise at all. We don't even post about it on Facebook or social media. People just know, and I don't even know. I don't know how they find out that there's a certain day in October that the tickets are available for 1 hour, basically, and they sell them out. And I guess there's a whole joy of being online to get into the theater, and people stand with the same people every year
I've done it.
and continue their conversations a year later with strangers that they've just. I wonder what it's like. I've never experienced it. I'm backstage, just putting on the face. So I just don't know. But and I've never had that experience of seeing something over and over like that. But I'm very grateful. But we thought, for about 2 seconds, do we do like a Zoom thing with it, and it wouldn't work. I really do think this is a case where the audience is as much a part of the effectiveness of the event as the performers themselves. So we're in a kind of collective dream. Yeah. And I don't know what they're even seeing or experiencing, but we're all in it together. And I think without having that key element of the wild enthusiasm of this and nostalgia of this crowd who come the same people basically come every year, sitting in the same places.
Yes.
It's the most ritualized event ever. So yeah, it just seemed kind of almost. I think it would almost hurt it in a way
Yes. Yeah.
if you saw that, the harsh cruelty of the close-up camera of all of us zooming without any of that great emotional response we get. So hopefully uh, next year,
Next year.
I think the way things seem to be progressing, and it's funny too because I believe this would have been our last year doing it. And at a certain point, you just can't go on forever doing it. And I don't know. My days of playing winsome young Tootsie maybe numbered. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you got 20 more years left. Don't worry. We'll all be there to see you. Can you leave us with a little story for those that are not going to be anywhere this holiday season? There's so many people that are alone. What words of, I don't know, a sweet story. Do you have anything that you recall about holidays you'd like to share for us that'll brighten our spirits? We need them.
I have a sweet story that happened to me a few years ago. My sister, who I'm very close to, my sister Margaret, she had a heart surgery, and she's fine now. But it was kind of scary, and so Kathy, who's kind of our surrogate sister, who's a very dear friend of yours as well, who's done my wigs for my whole career. She knows where the bodies are buried. She was with me, and we left the hospital. It was about 9 o'clock at night, and we were starving, and it was Thanksgiving, and we were so worried and forlorn and hungry, and we went downtown the village where I live, and of course all the restaurants that had some kind of Thanksgiving dinner were closed for the night. They weren't serving anymore, and the only place we could find was this 24-hour coffee shop in my neighborhood, and it was a coffee shop that I'd never actually dined in, but I used to do takeout all the time. So we walk in there, and I remember the guy who used to do the takeout orders, his voice was kind of a soft Mideastern, kind of lovely accent, and he was awfully nice on the phone. And my takeout orders, are rather complicated and sometimes take on the quality of an Odette's drama, full of regret and anxiety. So anyway, we walk in, just drag ourselves into this coffee shop, and the maitre d', I don't know what you call the maitre d' of a coffee shop, but a guy, the host, I don't know what's the title, he is going to show us to a table, and I hear his accent, and I said, "Are you the fellow who takes the takeout orders on the phone?" Yes, I am. I said, "Well, I'm the hot open faced turkey sandwich with the gravy over the mashed potatoes." Oh, and you like the not the brown gravy, but the turkey gravy over the mashed potatoes? Yes. Is it, and the double order of cranberry sauce? Yes. He said, "Oh, and the chocolate milkshake that you regret because you think it's too fattening?" Yes, that's me. And we just kind of embraced, like we had been best friends in Lebanon, and hadn't seen each other in 30 years. And I said, I'm Charles, and he said, I'm Rocky. And I said, "Well, I guess we know each other now."
That's a very good story, and it's very appropriate for what everyone went through this year on Thanksgiving and are coming up with Christmas too.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Charles, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. It was an honor to have you. You have brought so much joy to so many people for so long, and I wish you many, many, many more years of making us laugh and smile and cry a bit too, like you did for Lily Dare. It was very beautiful. So thank you. Thank you for this interview.
Well, it's been lovely being with you, and I haven't seen you in a while, so it's nice to actually see your face.
Yes, yours as well. And all the best to you and your sister and to Kath. So thanks,
Bye-bye.
Charles. Okay, thank you. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Thank you so much for watching the show, everyone, and I'll see you next week on My Thoughts Exactly. Thank you to all my subscribers. Next week, we have another terrific show. We have Charlemagne Godfrey, the Flaming Gardener, showing you indoor holiday decorating tips. Bye, everybody. See you next week on the show, My Thoughts Exactly. Bye.